That would be you, Martha. You need to unmute yourself.
I didn't figure you meant me.
I hit mute everyone except me.
So if you cannot figure out how to unmute yourself, just wave frantically and hopefully someone will notice you. We will try to scan. Good morning and welcome everyone to our University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship Sunday morning Zoom, especially all the members of the UU of Lake County. It's good to see so many of Reverend Tracie's congregation joining us this morning. We're glad you're here. So take a moment now to settle into our shared sacred space. Find a candle or a chalice. We encourage everyone to light their own. And I don't know, mute all those little electronic devices, turn off the TVs, so when you do speak, we won't hear a lot of background noise. There will be opportunities when we share joys and concerns and committee moments. What we normally do is go for the people that have raised their hands as a participant through Zoom. You can raise your hand and we notice those first, then I go to the chat room and then to people that are waving frantically. So we'll start before our service with committee moments. And there are a few in the chat room, which I'll read first. And then I will look around. So from the UURE, Judith. She has sent an email to all parents who have children in the RE program, asking them to participate in a project for RE Sunday, which is the 24th. So you only have 2 weeks, but I think her deadline is a little earlier for what she's asking of you. So please read the email. If you haven't seen it or lost it or accidentally deleted it, get in touch with Judith because it's important that everyone that can participate. It's going to be a fun service. Lots of happy Mother's Day wishes. Stephen Hall, apologies to the Inquiring Minds group. His email notice failed for reasons that are currently undetermined. So he's working to find out why, and hopefully that will be back on next week. And no, Louisa, it was not your computer. Yes, Paula just suggests with this Zoom format, we could have a speaker from anywhere in the world. So send emails to Desmond Tutu and I don't know, anybody else we might like. No youth group Zoom today. That usually happens at, I don't know what time it happens, but if you're part of the youth group in Beacon, it happens at 4 o'clock. There will not be one today because hopefully you're cooking dinner for your moms or taking a nap or something. The deadline is this Wednesday for RE. And women's group will meet next on May 22nd. That's a Friday, not this Friday, but we're doing it every 2 weeks. And that is all I see in the Zoom room. The McElroy girls have their hands up. So I'm going to
Hi, sorry. I was just going to comment on the RE this Wednesday. We need the videos by this Wednesday just because I'm editing the videos together for the service. So I need a little time to do that. So if y'all could get your kids either on camera or they can do it. You can just record their voice if they don't want to be on camera, or if they have any art they've done. Or anything that they've worked on during RE this year. If you want to send that in, we're going to try to include any form of children participation that we can.
Thank you, Chloe. I believe this is David Bermanick McElroy. You are unmuted.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hello.
The men's group this Monday, which is tomorrow, 6:30 Zoom, and love to see you guys there.
Great. Get in touch with David or email info@universityuus.org, and our wonderful admin Trista will forward your email request to wherever it needs to go. John Mowbray,
It's actually me. It's Amy.
It's actually Amy. Okay.
I was just thinking I want to wear headphones because Joey looks so cool. Seriously, I wanted to take a moment and speak on behalf of everyone in pastoral care. There's only 4 of us, but we all want to send a shout out to the board for all of their help with the outreach during this time. They've really been like a wonderful extension of pastoral care, and we are so grateful. And as somebody who sits on both the board and pastoral care, it was not my idea. They just decided that the most important thing was to make sure we were all staying connected. And I think I speak for a lot of people. That's why I've been a member of this church for so long, for 13 plus years. So thank you, everybody on the board, for helping us stay together and connected, and try to keep tabs on everybody and make sure we're all staying safe. Thanks.
Thank you.
Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, you had your hand up?
I know yesterday I found my virtual one and today I can't find it. So there you go. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware that next Sunday, we're going to have our first ever virtual annual meeting. And it's new for all of us. And we have decided, because the pledge drive is going through the end of this month, we will not have all of the information yet. And because our fiscal year doesn't end until the end of June, for this annual meeting, we will give an updated report on our current financial situation, and we will elect our new slate of officers. And then we're going to have a second piece of the annual meeting on Sunday, June 28th, about a month, a little more than a month from now. And by that time, we will have completed the pledge drive, and we'll have a lot of good information about the congregation's financial status. And so we'll be able to share with you at that time more. So next Sunday after service, we'll just take a brief break like we do in person to get a snack or use the facilities or whatever you need to do. And then we'll gather together again and proceed with our annual meeting. So I hope you will all be there next Sunday and join us. And we so appreciate all of the support that you all have shown and all of the special efforts that so many have made, and know that we are still, the board is still meeting weekly and talking about what's going on, making plans, trying to gather information, and that we hold all of you close in our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Before we get started, we have an update on our virtual pledge drive. I hope all of you are reading the notable news. Most of you got the letters. Occasionally we had someone whose address changed without our knowledge, well, without us updating it. Maybe we knew, but we forgot to update it. So, but the letter's on the website as well. And our theme this year, we've got you in our hands. Triple U. We've got triple U in our hands. And there's a lot of uncertainty right now. We don't know when we'll be back in person. There's a lot we don't know. But one thing we do know is that our church is here because of the people that are part of it, not the building, not what we do particularly, but because of our community and our people, which I'm so glad we can still see. And it's important for all of you, all of the members of this congregation, to please consider pledging as soon as you can. The amount is really not what's important. It's the fact of committing to help us keep moving forward and remove a little bit of the uncertainty maybe, so that we can plan, because it's hard to plan without knowing anything. So if we know something and we have something from all of our members, whether it's big or small, somewhere in between, a waiver or anything, please take time to do that this week, because you haven't done it already, you've missed out on homemade treats from Kelly Buchanan. And this week you have until 5 o'clock this evening to get a wonderful, was it from Anne or Chris this week? I can't remember, but it's either wonderful homemade oatmeal cookies or an apple cheese tort. Either one, you don't want to miss. Okay, so 5 o'clock tonight to get into this week's drawing. And last week, Beatrice Reyes Foster won the drawing, and she was so excited. She has 3 children, teaches full-time at UCF, has a mom living with her and a husband who's just recovering from surgery. I sent her a text at 7 o'clock on Thursday to say, hey, hope you take time to read the notable news. And about 30 seconds later, it was like, oh my God, I won. So it was very exciting. I hope you all enjoyed the video because I know Beatrice did. And she is here to share just a brief message. If I can find her, I know she's here. There she is. Hi, Beatrice. And she's also on our board, and she has something to share with us this morning, too.
Hi, Martha. Thank you. And yes, it was very exciting. So there's 2 things. The first, kind of just building off the pledge. As many of you know, before the world exploded because of COVID-19, the congregation voted to start a capital fund for the hiring of a minister down the line. And when we started the pledge drive, everything changed, obviously, because we're no longer meeting and there's a lot of financial uncertainty. But we wanted to honor the wishes of people who feel really strongly about the minister and give them the opportunity to pledge to support the fund regardless. And so we have a separate line. And so when you pledge, you have the option of doing your regular pledge and then pledging separately for the minister fund. And right now, the minister fund has $14,950 as of May 7th. And so I just wanted to give everyone an update on the state of the fund for that. And then, Martha, I don't think that you mentioned how much has been raised so far for the general pledge drive.
I did
We've
not.
raised $34,560. So, so please, if you haven't pledged yet, please do so. And if you feel very strongly about supporting the minister fund, you don't have to give money right now. You just have to tell us how much you're willing to give. And so that is an update on the amounts of money we have raised and on the minister drive. And then separately, Paul Mata approached the board with a really wonderful idea, and you should have seen an email that went out separately. And but just in case you didn't, we are putting out a call for video submissions in order to create a montage that we can then put on our YouTube page, so that people that come into our YouTube page or log on to our website or see us on social media can learn a little bit more about what makes our community so special. And so we're asking anybody who's interested and willing to please make a very short video of themselves, like a 30-second video, basically sharing with the world why you are a member of UF, and what makes us a wonderful community, and why others may want to join us, and why others may want to learn more about us. And so we've sent out an email with kind of some tips and prompts and ideas for how you can hold your phone and lighting and stuff like that, and also where to submit them to. So I really would love to see lots of videos, and so that we can create a really nice kind of introduction to our community that we can then share with the world. And so I saw Paul just posted something in chat if you want to take a look. And our deadline is Tuesday. So please, it doesn't have to be super professional. Caleb is going to be editing everything and putting it together, and I'm really excited to see what it looks like. But really, just if you have 30 seconds, that's all it takes. Just use your phone, record yourself, send the file off to Paul either via email or upload it to Dropbox, and and help us show the world why we love our community.
Thank you, Beatrice. Yeah, I will do mine for both this afternoon while I'm all dressed up. And it's a great idea. So let's just remember how much we do love this community and show it by taking a moment to pledge and let us know that we can count on your support through the coming year. And we will be sharing our plans for moving forward next week at the quarterly meeting. So I don't see anything else in the Dropbox. So now we can officially begin our service with opening words. I received this on an email and I thought it was beautiful. I shared it with Reverend Tracie and she agreed. It's actually written by the Reverend Lisa Bovey Kemper, who spoke to us about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half, after the worship retreat that she held for directors of religious education at our church. And this is called The Circle of Care. In religious communities, we share our joys and our triumphs, our sorrows and our broken places. In this circle of care, we make space for the complexity of life, the myriad experiences that bless and break our hearts. The truth of human experience dictates that on any given day, we each come to the table with hearts in different places. It is especially so on this day, invented to honor women who nurture. In this circle of care, we honor the truth that mothering is not and never will be quantified in one single descriptor. Mothering can be elusive or infuriating, fulfilling or confusing, commonplace or triumphant. It exists in the everyday experiences of each person. There is no human being that is not connected to or disconnected from a mother. And so we honor the complexity of experience, writ large in flowered platitudes, but here in this space, laid bare, honoring the truth in each of our hearts. There is room for all in this circle. If you have carried a child or children, whether or not they came to be born, we see you. If you have fervently wished to do so and circumstances of fate made it impossible, we see you. If you love children we cannot see, whether because of death or estrangement, we see you. If you never wanted to be a mother, we see you. If you are happy to mother other people's children as an educator, an auntie, or a foster parent, we see you. If your mother hurt you, physically or emotionally, we see you. If you had no mother at all, we see you. If your mother is or was your best friend, we see you. If your gender says you are not a mother, and yet you take on the role of nurturer, we see you. If you wonder whether your mothering has been enough, we see you. And if yours is a different truth altogether, we honor your unspoken story. There is room for all in this circle. May it be so today and always. Thank you, Reverend Lisa. We move on now to our lighting of the chalice. If we were in church, we would have a youth come forward because it's wonderful for them to share in our service. And now we encourage each of you to light your own as you say the words on the screen. Say them out loud because they feel good. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And now let's move on to our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. I think we've all been doing a really good job of that during this interesting time. So we normally welcome guests, and we have a lot this morning for which we're grateful. I'm glad all of you have chosen to join us this morning. I hope you find the experience worthy of your time and that you will return often to fully experience the wide variety of speakers, topics, and services we offer. As a lay-led congregation without a called minister, we work together to provide programs that nourish our souls and our minds and help us learn and grow together. So take just a moment and wave at your screen so that everybody can see us waving. That's all we can do right now. You can send private messages in the chat. I just had a beautiful one from my daughter, which I'm thankful for. And anyway, we will leave the Zoom open for a few minutes after service and unmute so we can enjoy the cacophony of everyone trying to say hello at once. It's kind of beautiful music. Next, we set aside a time for sharing joys and concerns. It's part of the glue that binds our community together. Briefly and reverently sharing the highs and lows of our lives is worth a portion of our time. So please, Amanda Major is going to manage the joys and concerns today. She will unmute first those who have raised their hands with their little blue hand in the participant box.
Thank
Then
you,
she'll
Martha.
do the chat room, and then she will come to people that are waving their hand or raising their hands physically. Okay, so we will get to you, Beth. Don't forget Beth when you get to that part, Amanda. for everyone that shared. Let's just take a moment in quiet reflection of all that we heard and all that we may still hold in our hearts. Thank you. That is part of why I love this community. One last note that either David McElroy or Marilyn Verminick posted that Roy Horn of Siegfried and Roy passed from COVID. I hadn't heard that. So it's now time for all ages. Let's turn it over to Judith.
Good morning, everybody. We're going to do a little exercise this morning. I know you just love it when I do this to you. Let's see. When my daughter was in, can you all hear me all right? Because I'm using a different computer and, okay, good. When my daughter was in elementary school, she made something called Flat Stanley. Other schools have different names for it, but basically it's a cardboard cutout of a paper doll that the kids would personalize and then share with friends and family, and would then ask for stories about what had happened to that paper doll as it traveled from friends to family, etc., and back. This morning, I'm going to ask you all to create a person like Flat Stanley. Let's see if I can get this to slideshow. There we go. There we go. So in your mind's eye, create a Flat Stanley, a paper doll, a person, someone. Start with the basics. And then bring your heart into it and give this character, whoops, I hate it when I do that. Then give this character you're creating all the qualities you love and you find important. Give them what they need. Give them what makes them who they are. Notice how you feel about them. Notice their worth. Notice their part in your world. Even without doing anything intentionally for you, they have value. They have meaning. Notice how they have some level of importance for you as you imagine your Flat Stanley or Stella or Shane. You have imbued them with your own love and inspiration without asking anything in return. This Zoom room today is filled with a group of folks made up of people of a variety of ages and stages. And this means the youngest amongst you and the oldest amongst us, of various orientations, of various experiences. And in this exercise today, you just created, and you are all mothers, and you created a being having expected nothing of them except that experience. Now, happy Mother's Day to all of you.
Thank you, Judith. I remember Flat Stanley well. He used to travel with us. Amanda, we had one late breaking joy and concern.
Yes, Marissa shared in the chat that Aries lost not one, but 2 teeth this week. So that's great news. Thanks for sharing.
We're going to take a break at this time, just for a minute, for our interlude and offering. Today's music will be an acoustic piece that was sent in by one of our inclusion band members. We really miss hearing the band, and we're hoping that they will figure out a way to be able to share together with us. But please enjoy this and take a moment, if you can, to go to our website or text in an offering, or maybe you can take this moment to do your pledge. It won't be long, so don't rush through it. But let's just take a little break before we move into the rest of the service. Our offering this week, if you choose to donate through Share the Plate or through the SAC initiative, which is our Social Action Committee, those will be directed to the Zebra Coalition. That is a resource of different organizations, as well as a place for the LGBTQ plus youth in our community to find support and health care, other things that they need, because they're often not welcome in their family, or their family may not know how to deal with whatever transition or feelings that they're going through, and it offers help to both. So consider donating through them. They will be speaking with us on the 31st of this month. So we'll get to hear about them and see where the money we've been collecting has been going. So let's enjoy some music and take a moment. Thank you, John Mowbray, particularly for sending in that piece and taking the time to compose and play it for us. It was very good. Um, well, it's time now for the main event. Reverend Tracie Barrett is joining us from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lake County, which is in Eustis, has a beautiful building. This is their first called minister, and I don't remember how many years they've been around. Not quite as well, maybe almost as long as us.
Yeah, about as long as you all have. Yep.
Okay. So she has been their minister for the past 3 years, I believe. And we are very glad to have her back in our virtual pulpit this morning. It's been a while, Tracie. So welcome and thank you.
Thank you. It is good to be back with you all, and it is lovely to see some of my people here. So welcome. Excuse me. So Mother's Day is everywhere. Last year, when I could drive around and I was driving home during this time, in a 5-minute commercial break on the radio, every single commercial talked about Mother's Day. Hallmark cards, a department store, flower delivery, pajama delivery, a restaurant where the ad didn't start as a Mother's Day commercial, but it ended as one. The weirdest one, though, was one of those live read commercials for a mattress store that finished with, "Buy a mattress for Mom." Odd, but okay. In March, as soon as St. Patrick's Day is over, it seems the "Don't Forget About Mom" displays begin to pop up. And you can't get away from it unless you're not going to the stores right now. If you're in a great relationship with your mom, or you are a mom who has a great relationship with your children, then it's not that big of a deal. But what if you're not? What if your mom has died and it's still a raw day for you? What if your mom is alive, but it's a troubled or even abusive relationship? What if illness or Alzheimer's has taken your mom away from you while her body still sits there? What if you're separated from your children by distance, divorce, or death? What if you've always wanted to have children but couldn't? What if you never wanted to have children and are made to feel a little or a lot less than on this day? What if you're a grandmother raising another set of kids? What if you're a stepmother and on this day you're bumped to the second position or not even remembered? What if your relationship is fine, but with the social distancing and self-quarantine for COVID, you can't follow through with traditions you've done for years? Mother's Day can be difficult and challenging for many, and with the commercialization of it, it's not an easy thing to avoid. Just the discussion of Mother's Day can be fraught with difficulty. Every year, I end up in a conversation online with other ministers across faith traditions about Mother's Day. And the start of the conversation is always to remind everyone about the many feelings that would be present in our congregations on this day. And a lot of us chime in, naming the various women who might be struggling. And after a bit, inevitably, someone states that they don't feel like they can celebrate Mother's Day because they'll hurt someone else. And my response was what I say every time this conversation comes up. I have those in my life for whom Mother's Day is one of their favorite holidays. And I have those in my life, including me, for whom Mother's Day can be a very painful day. The trick is to recognize that both are happening and to hold them both in tension and in love. Now, this isn't just for a sermon for the women in the Zoom room. This affects everyone. Sure, relationships between mothers and daughters are often the ones that are the most fraught, but men can also have difficult Mother's Days. If your mom is lost to you due to illness, death, divorce, choices made over and over again, you too know this pain. If you have a wife or a partner who struggles today, you know this pain. If you have a daughter who is struggling to conceive or is separated from her children, you know this pain. And if you're a father who has been both mother and father to a child, you know this pain. So with all this pain floating around within many of us, what do? In our society, the proper thing to do seems to be to just ignore it, to stigmatize it, to pretend that on this day, everything is wonderful. I often watch at the store when people are buying Mother's Day cards. You can tell if you pay attention, the ones who have the complicated relationships. They scowl as they read card after card, looking not for the perfect one, but for the one that is least like a lie. A general, thanks for being mom card, as opposed to the flowery sentiments that can fall flat on the tongue and ears. And I often stand there, sending up a silent prayer for grace for them, for love, for someone to tell them that it's okay. Because it is okay. We don't have to pretend. We shouldn't pretend. We shouldn't hide. Stigma only disappears the more you shine light onto it. And we do that by sharing. Mother's Day has always been a difficult day for me. I have a complicated relationship with my mother, and I'm unable to have children of my own. And I was once, but am no longer, a stepmother. So this day can be very difficult. For years, I bit my tongue, I plastered a smile on my face, and I pretended it was okay. I bought the cards for my mom, usually trying to find something that wasn't too sticky for me, and I made the phone call. I tried to avoid going out so no one would wish me a happy Mother's Day. Prior to becoming a stepmother, that phrase was a dagger in my heart. And it took me a year or two to figure out that while we had primary custody of my stepson, when it came to Mother's Day, he thought of his mom, not me, when reminded of the holiday. And so I would sit and I would wallow and sometimes got angry and just tried to get through the day. And that doesn't work very well, by the way. So a couple of years ago, I started vocalizing it. And it started simple. It was just a quiet, I really dislike Mother's Day, said to friends. And I was surprised when many of them, mothers included, would whisper back, me too. 2 years ago was the first year when, due to the ending of my marriage, I wasn't even a stepmother anymore. And that was hard. I was thankful that I had friends who got it, and I was able to vocalize how much it hurt and how complicated that day was for me. And now it's easier on that front, but the day is still hard. As I mentioned earlier, there is a complicated relationship with my mother. Does talking about it stop the pain? No, but it makes it easier because now there are people holding it with me. And that allowed me to sit with it and figure it out. And for the longest time, I wasn't even sure why this day hurt so bad. Beyond the obvious reasons, of course, but I knew that it had to go deeper. You see, Mother's Day is an ideal. It holds up an icon on a pedestal that may or may not be true for anyone. Even people with great relationships with their mothers will tell you that there are days that things are just not all that great. And I have friends who are amazing mothers, and even on this day, they feel like they don't measure up. I have friends who love the idea of Mother's Day but despise the commercialization of it. They want their children to do something to show appreciation, not just buy a card or flowers, and they'd rather have it throughout the year, not just one Sunday in May. Many of my mom friends often post a quote during this week that says, I don't need a fancy Mother's Day present. I just want to sleep in and wake up to a clean house. So this is where the pain from the complications come from. When our experience doesn't meet up with the ideal, when we hold ourselves to an impossible standard, when we grieve the loss of what wasn't, what can't be, what won't be. That grief is real, and it needs to be sat with, processed, and then when ready, let go. Realizing that you or your own mother can't live up to what Hallmark and 1-800-Flowers have decided is what motherhood looks like. Realizing that mothering comes in many different forms, including how we care for our pets, to how we care for the earth, to how we care for our community, and how we care for ourselves. As I said at the beginning, even those with good feelings around Mother's Day and motherhood in general may be hurting today, as we have to distance ourselves from those we care about for their and our safety. Maybe your usual traditions are not happening today, and maybe you're feeling a bit lost with that and sitting with that grief. We need to be the ones to show grace and that love, not just to others, but to ourselves as well. To give ourselves a time to grieve, a time to feel, and a time to know that it will be okay. Our relationships may not be perfect, but nothing in life is. So we do the best that we can. We help each other as much as we can, and we have grace in the middle. So if today is complicated for you, I invite you to sit with that. Don't shove it to the side. Don't put a happy face for those around you. Don't pretend. Sit with it. Give yourself permission to feel. Name those feelings to yourself. Investigate where they came from, what sparked them. Is it grief? Is it loss? Is it anger? All are valid feelings. You don't have to resolve them. You don't have to fix them. Just name them. If you can, not necessarily right now, but when you are comfortable, find someone you can share those feelings with. You don't have to go into details. Sometimes it's enough to say out loud to someone who supports you, you know, I really don't like Mother's Day. That phrase alone can be enough to help not only you, but someone else. And then when you're really ready, let it go. And it doesn't mean the feelings don't exist or they're not real or you're pretending that everything is okay. What it does mean is that you've accepted that these are the feelings you feel, and there isn't anything you can do to change another person or an outcome that isn't meant to be or an outcome that can't be changed. We are only in control of our own feelings, our own reactions, and our own decisions. Letting go simply says that someone else doesn't have control over our feelings anymore. It's not easy. Sometimes you have to let go little bits at a time. Sometimes you have to let go of the same thing over and over and over again. And it's not a failure. It's just another step in the process. And maybe you don't have a complicated relationship with a mom, a child, or feelings around Mother's Day. But maybe you know someone who does. Maybe you don't know if this is a hard day for your friends or not. And maybe you have your own feelings about motherhood that don't make today complicated, but do give you pause or that you struggle with. The same advice goes to you. Sit with those feelings. Name them, even the good ones. Recognize that each of us have a journey we're on, and we can show up for each other to provide support, to be an ally, to help when things are tough. This is what living in beloved community looks like, where we hold one another in grace and love and support. So I encourage you today to listen, to observe, to see who might be struggling. Don't ask questions, don't pry, just be there. It is in these actions that provide the safe and supportive spaces for those of us who struggle with the day to name the issues. As I close, I want to share with you the words of my colleague, Maureen Killeran. Let us tell stories of mothers, stories that could be true. Let us tell of warm mothers, soft and round, likely to be found with flour on their nose, and always ready to pour you a glass of milk to go with the cookies on your plate. These mothers are increasingly rare. Let us tell of mothers who are like bubbles of champagne. They surprise your senses, leave you giggly, but when you least expect it, they erupt with an unexpected pop. Stories that could be true. Then there are grouchy mothers, stressed mothers, exhausted mothers, faces lined with worry and spirits tired and gray. Other mothers are wise and reliable, not prone to many words or to a lot of noise, but you know that when you need them, they'll be there. Let us tell of fierce mothers, the ones who'll love you even when you're wrong. Let us also tell of absent mothers, whose memory shimmers at the edges of your heart. Let us tell of distant mothers, cruel mothers, loving mothers, giving mothers. There are walk-away mothers, save the world mothers, too busy mothers, mothers you cry because you lost them, and mothers who make you cry because you can't. Stories that could be true. May we hold in our hearts the mothers we have known, those who loved us, and those who tried. May we forgive the mothers who didn't get it right and try to release the knots of disappointment, anger, grief, pain. May we hold in our hearts the truth that mothering, nurturing, is a task that belongs to us all. However old or young you are, whatever your gender, may you make extra room for nurturing in your life this week. May you say something real to a harried store clerk, give a coworker a genuine compliment, take time to listen deeply to a friend. In our shared silence, may we remember and reflect and create anew the stories of love and nurture from this point forward. stories that can be true. May we move forward, creating and recreating our own stories around this and every day. May we give generously, give grace on this day to others and to ourselves. May we love and be loved. Amen. May it be so, and blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend Tracie. I'm going to go ahead and turn this meeting back over to Martha. Martha, if you could unmute your mic. Okay, maybe Paula?
Martha, you're still muted.
I lost it. I'm sorry. In my gallery view. Here, I'm back. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. My computer kind of froze up for a second. Thank you so much, Tracie. I'm sorry that my computer ended the warmth we were feeling after your words. They were really good and a wonderful message to remind us that we are all in different places. And the grace and love and support that we give each other are what makes our community wonderful. So let's extinguish our flames together. Please join me with the words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. For closing words, I shared these also with Reverend Tracie. And she thought they would be a good ending for today's service. They're from the Religious Coalition for Reproductive Choice and called How Do We Honor Mothers? And the reason I was away from my screen, I realized there was one line missing and I was trying to go back and find it. And I will never, ever do that again. So let's relax and listen to these wonderful words, except for the one line I still didn't find. How do we honor mothers in this pandemic when mothers are dying without their loved ones near and others are grieving dying children they cannot touch? How do we sing God's song in this strange land? How can we honor mothers when mothers said to be essential do not earn living wages? When stay-at-home mom has new and overwhelming meaning, and mothers can only be hugged or be hugged virtually, if at all. How do we honor mothers whose laps and wombs are empty, when no one sees their wounded hearts that bear the scabs and scars of broken dreams? How do we honor mothers when mothers give birth with virus as their only companion, to live in dirty, crowded cages where they cry for their mamas? Give me you're tired, you're poor, does not apply. How can we honor mothers when Mother Earth is groaning, overtaken by toxic waste, as humans do not understand the connection of all living? How do we sing God's song? How do we honor mothers when their children are behind bars or imprisoned by addiction, when relationships with their children seem shattered beyond repair and they cannot find their way to forgiveness? How do we honor mothers when heartless politicians add abortion bans and immigration restrictions, when the human dignity of Black folks, long-term care residents, meatpacking workers, and people living in incarceration is disregarded? How can we sing to honor mothers whose children are called to war? Theirs were cries of reproductive justice. They sang God's song in this strange land. Mama Julia, that would be Julia Howe, I believe, organized Mothers' Peace Movement with mothers from nations around the world. In different languages, they cried out, "Peace, not war, is the answer." They sang God's song in this strange land. Mama Anna campaigned for a National Mother's Day, not with empty sentimental or commercial words, but honoring life-giving, social healing motherhood. They sang God's song in this strange land. They sang their unstoppable songs when slave women were raped into motherhood, when children of Native and Black mothers were robbed from their breasts, when sterilization was forced on Black, Puerto Rican, and Native bodies. They sang God's song in this strange land. Suffragists sang in this strange land. Black mamas, Sojourner, Angelina, Mary C.T., Ida B., and Mary T., sang with white mamas, Susan B., Elizabeth, Alice, Carrie, and Lucy, even though some were made to sing as backup and backstage. Some mamas sang as they cared for World War I soldiers, as other mamas continued to fight for voting rights. Although in different ways, our mamas sang. They sang God's song in this strange land. How can we sing God's song in this strange land where the skills of Black nurses were only valued when the 1918 world flu flooded the land with infested bodies? Still, they sang God's song. Wilson asked, "Shall we admit women only to a partnership of suffering and sacrifice and toil, and not a partnership of privilege?" Finally, after war and pandemic, women voted because they kept singing in this strange land. What is God's song in this strange land? God's song is reproductive freedom, social liberation, economic and environmental justice, and human thriving for all mothers and motherless, all children and childless. We honor mama warriors and healers, activists and preachers. We sing God's song now for today and generations yet to come. As we sing, we give birth to hope and nurture new possibilities in this strange land. Together, in our different voices, identities, languages, and life circumstances, we sing God's song. May it be so. And may, beloved community, one day be available for everyone. That concludes our service today. I think we are ready to perhaps unmute everyone and enjoy that cacophony I mentioned. Wave to people. You can also, if you're adept, share private messages through the chat or wave or get offline later. Thank you all our UU CLC friends that joined us. I look forward